The men who had syphilis were not given access to appropriate treatment. The study's goal was to trace untreated syphilis to its natural course. But because the men were never given a chance to give their informed consent, many of the men experienced serious health issues or unfortunately passed away. One of the three long-lasting terms of traumas that stemmed from the Tuskegee experiment include medical mistrust and mental health avoidance, intergenerational trauma, and systematic barriers reinforced by history. What do the three of these mean? In total, in actuality, it means that all three of these long-lasting term traumas have a negative impact on African Americans and how they view mental health systems. Let's start with medical mistrust and mental health avoidance. African Americans' endurance and persuasive mistrust of the medical system is one of the Tuskegee study's most significant repercussions. This suspicion is not merely sentimental, it is also logical and supported by history. When it comes to mental health, this embedded skepticism manifests as a hesitancy to seek counseling, therapy, or psychiatric care, even in cases where the symptoms are severe. Intergenerational trauma. The trauma of the Tuskegee study is passed down through multiple generations. Despite the fact that it stopped more than 50 years ago, when the psychological scars of one generation are transmitted through family stories, all of the customs and cultural values that is referred to intergenerational trauma. Lastly, systematic barriers and reinforced by history. Beyond personal suspicion, Tuskegee's legacy reinforced structural injustices. According to Williams and Muhammad in 2013, African Americans are more likely to reside in underfunded communities with little access to culturally appropriate care, inexpensive insurance, and mental health experts. When the treatments are available, they are frequently provided by professionals who are not educated with the history and cultural context of Black patients' lives. What can we do to help this? Two solutions that we can do to further make sure that African American community are getting access to the mental health care that they need is an open dialogue, which means government officials, organizations, medical schools, and mental health facilities openly admitting their mistakes to multiple studies, such as the Tuskegee study of syphilis. The Tuskegee syphilis study, excuse me. When we have open dialogue, this now includes and has room for African Americans to start their healing experience now that they know that multiple organizations have openly admitted to their mistakes. Another solution is by training providers in cultures such as African Americans. A lot of African Americans have reported being or feeling misunderstood, stereotyped, or ignored. I believe that continuous training in trauma, systematic racism, Black history, and ways African Americans express distress should be provided to providers. In summary, African Americans' access to mental health care is significantly impacted by their historical histories, and the Tuskegee, syphilis study is among the most glaring instances of how historical justice caused long-lasting harm. Thank you. I will now be passing it to my peer, Amartya.
Thank you, Dantasia, for that lovely presentation. Now I will start my presentation, which is also in social impediment category. My presentation is on the how educational inequality in pediatric mental health care worsens disparities for marginalized communities. So, with that said, um, here's the crisis. 42% of high school students reported persistent despair in 2023, yet marginalized students face compounded barriers accessing to mental health support. Meet Maria, a 16-year-old student, a Latina student in rural Texas, struggling with anxiety and depression. Her high school counselor oversees 800 students, lacks mental health training, and the nearest therapist is 45 minutes away. The Maria story is just one of thousands that have been failed by our educational system. My central argument is that the current educational systems don't just fail to provide adequate mental health services, they actively perpetuate inequities that disadvantage our most vulnerable youth. My policy analysis reveals three critical failures. First, systematic funding inequities. Title I schools receive $340 per student for mental health services compared to the $890 non-Title I schools. In Texas, schools that primarily serve Hispanic and Black students receive 17% less total funding. These disparities directly translate into reduced access to mental health professionals. Second, critical staffing shortages are inequitably distributed. What I mean by that is about 55% of nationally adequate mental health resources, schools serving predominantly students of color face the worst shortages. Some 2,000 counselor to student ratios versus the 1 to 500 recommended. Only 34% of available counselors receive cultural competency training. Third, the structural barriers without enforcement. Federal policies like ESSA lack meaningful enforcement mechanisms for equity. Language barriers prevent English learning families from accessing services and disciplinary policies, disproportionately excluding students of color from services. These failures create reinforcing cycles, and what these do is untreated mental health conditions compound academic failures, leading to increased dropout rates, reduced life opportunity, perpetuating this intergenerational disadvantage. So I propose a multi-level intervention solution framework. And what I mean by that is at the local level, community partnership models leveraging trusted local organization, peer support groups recruiting students from marginalized communities, and culturally responsive family engagement strategies. At the state level, mandatory cultural competency training for all mental health professionals, weighted funding formulas for high-risk students following Minnesota's successful model, like in my paper, and accountability for commissions, including committee representatives. At the federal level, the Congress must pass a legislation providing 1.5 billion annually for mental health, explicitly stating equity requirements. The Department of Education should mandate equity reporting under ESSA and establish minimum staffing ratios for schools serving marginalized communities. Every research shows that every dollar invested yields 7% reduction and improved outcomes. In c- this In conclusion, I showed this research shows that the demonstrated educational mental health inequities that we are facing represents a moral crisis demanding immediate response. Without decisive intervention, we perpetuate this intergenerational cycle of disadvantaged students like Maria continue to struggle in silence. The social costs of inaction, dropout rates, juvenile justice involvement, adult mental health crisis far exceed from reform investment. This provides the roadmap for transformation and addresses the root causes rather than just providing the symptoms, thus achieving mental health equity in education. The question isn't can we afford these changes, it's whether or not we can afford to make them. Thank you. Now I pass the light on to Roman to explain his research.
Thank you, Amarthya, for that presentation. I want to talk about something that matters to all of us, mental health. In the last few years, people have gotten better about talking about mental health, which is great, but even with more awareness, lots of people still can't get the help that they need. Why? Well, two major reasons are cultural stigma and language barriers. These problems hit especially hard in immigrant communities or in families from different cultural backgrounds. They don't just stop people from getting help. They also mess with how doctors understand and treat patients. So let's talk about cultural stigma first. In some cultures, having a mental illness is seen as shameful. People might be taught to just tough it out or keep things private. Asking for help can be seen as weak or embarrassing. For example, in some Asian communities, mental health struggles are kept secret to protect family honor. In Latinx families, mental illness might be viewed as a sign of poor character, so people try to hide what they're feeling, and that makes it harder to heal. It's like walking around with a broken arm and saying, I'm fine, just because you're scared of what others might think. That doesn't work. Now think about trying to get help from someone who doesn't speak your language. Imagine telling a doctor you're having anxiety, but you don't know the right words in English, and the doctor doesn't speak your language either. Things get lost in translation. Big things. Even interpreters aren't perfect. Emotional stuff can be hard to explain, and tone and feelings can be misunderstood. That can lead to misdiagnosis or getting treatment that doesn't work well for that person. When the language doesn't match, it creates distance between the patient and provider. And mental health care needs trust, communication, and understanding to work. These issues aren't just theories. they're real. In immigrant families, kids often become translators for their parents. But how could a 12-year-old explain depression to a doctor? Some black communities have faced generations of mistrust toward the medical system, and that makes reaching out for help feel risky. And many people just give up before they even try because they don't see providers who look like them or understand their background. This leads to fewer people getting diagnosed and even people getting proper treatment. That's a big problem because untreated mental health struggles don't just go away. Think about it. If people can't talk about their pain and doctors can't understand it, everything gets worse. Symptoms grow and become harder to treat. People lose trust in healthcare systems. Some people, like, some feel like they have to deal with everything alone. And if certain communities are ignored in research and care planning, things won't change. Their needs won't be met, and the cycle continues. Here's the good news. We can make mental health care more equal and helpful. We just have to think bigger. Teach people that mental health is real and normal. Doctors should understand different cultures, how beliefs shape people's health. That means hiring therapists who speak different languages and offering translated materials. And use outreach. Listen to people's stories and make sure everyone knows they're welcome in the mental health space. These steps aren't just for doctors or hospitals, they're for schools, families, and communities too. Even small things like learning how to support a friend going through a tough time can help break down stigma. So, to sum it up, mental health care in the US still has serious gaps. Cultural beliefs, language can either be bridges or barriers. We have to make those barriers smaller and help people feel safe getting care, no matter who they are or where they're from. Let's keep talking, keep listening, and keep making change because everyone deserves to feel heard and supported. Thanks for letting me share this. And that's to wrap up the social impediment. I will now be passing on to the political slash legal impediment.
Thank you, Roman. I will now be introducing the legal impediment research that we have done as a group. More specifically, I will be going into the state level reasons as to why we are currently facing mental health issues. We are currently facing a mental health epidemic that can change the course of lives. As a matter of fact, according to the CSG, 9 in 10 Americans believe that we are facing a mental health crisis. Today, I will be presenting to you 3 state-level reasons as to why we are currently facing this disastrous problem and what we can do about it. If this issue remains unsolved, especially without the enforcement of necessary legislation from our government, our epidemic will ultimately become chronic. Firstly, it is focused on state enforcement of federal law. There have been many laws that the federal government have passed in order to aid those experiencing mental health crisis, one of which is the MHPAEA, short for the Mental Health Parity and Equity Act. The act attempted to ensure that limitations for mental health insurance were as non-restrictive as medical or surgical insurance. The main issue with this was that the states weren't able to effectively enforce this act properly because of the data. They relied on written analysis reports from insurers for certain restrictions and found that these reports were tended to be unreliable. However, many states undertook efforts to aid the mental health issue. Some examples are the Marcus Alert from Virginia and Kendra's Law in New York. Jillian Jimitter is an expert who was able to come in and explain to us how the Marcus system works. She specified that although 988 is a nationwide number for mental health emergencies, the Marcus Alert establishes a complicated system with many experts on mental health and law experts with law enforcement in order to effectively attend to the situation, a system not as effective in other states. On top of this, not as found in other states. On top of this, Kendra's Law established AOT, which is a judicial system that enforces and mandates treatment for certain individuals and also involves the cooperation of many professionals. However, even as effective as it is in New York, AOT, despite being established in 47 states, isn't as useful and isn't as known, and many people weren't even aware of the program. Lastly, rural states end up having more difficulty accessing mental health care. Some of these obstacles include stigma, travel distance, and the inability to use telehealth services due to poor internet connection. Such stigma includes having a strong sense of self-reliance and being afraid of others' opinions if one gets treatment. As a matter of fact, Rural Mind specifies that 65% of rural counties lack a psychiatrist and 28% don't have broadband access. However, to improve the crisis and address these problems, I suggest we do three main things. Firstly, we need to make reports more reliable and consistent. If we are unable to identify the root of the problem, we won't be able to extinguish it. However, it doesn't have to be so hard to find. It would be essential to state the imposed regulations and standards that had to be met within an analysis, avoiding unreliable reports. By doing so, states will be able to more effectively terminate the issue and pass more effective legislation to enforce parity laws such as MHPAEA. Second is to implement similar cooperative programs throughout more states. In context, I introduced the Marcus Alert system and the Kendra's AOT from Kendra's Law. The two I informed you about had detailed procedures and had collaborations across various fields and departments, making these systems extremely effective. By implementing more of these systems, we can ensure that people in suffering are able to get more reliable and knowledgeable care. Third and lastly, but probably not leastly, make care more accessible in rural states. Implementing legislation in states that are more rural ensures that people who live in these areas have consistent access to healthcare compared to those in urban areas. For instance, RHI has suggested to house both medical doctors and psychiatrists in the same building to both make care more accessible and widespread, and to maintain individual privacy and ensure that stigma and judging isn't an issue. Once again, in summary, I have to re-emphasize how this doesn't have to be a permanent epidemic. We can slowly be able to improve our health if our government enforces strong and reliable services to those of us suffering from a mental condition, and if we keep in mind the impact that we can make in an individual standpoint. Thank you, and I will now be passing it on to my colleague, which will also be diving in on legal impediments. Tina.
Thank you, Ms. Shika, and I will be talking about how the executive branch have been helping us throughout the years. So they have been passing several laws and enforcing several of them. And for example, in 1963, President Kennedy passed the Community Mental Health Act that basically allowed treatment to be held closer to home, which was like a community center instead of an asylum that was far away. Following that, in 1990, President Bush passed the Americans with Disabilities Act, which made it so that a person with a mental health disability was treated better. For example, if a person with a mental health disability were to start working at an office, that office will accommodate them with several different methods, such as a better working environment or a more flexible working schedule. Next, in 1996, President Clinton passed the Mental Health Parity Act, which focused on the unfairness of mental health as a whole. And to further straighten it, in 2008, President Bush passed the Mental Health Parity and Addiction Equity Act. This act was aimed at insurances and their coverage, since insurances would not cover as equally as they would between a mental health emergency and a physical one. Finally, in 2001, President Biden passed the American Rescue Plan Act, which basically provided a lot of funding towards multiple different services, including mental health, allowing them to provide treatment and further conduct research. This act was done in hopes of helping the country recover from the epidemic COVID-19. With several different acts, the executive branch uses multiple different ways to enforce them, one of which is the Department of Health and Human Services, which is an overall big department that branches out to several smaller departments, each dealing with a separate issue. For example, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration focuses on providing treatment for substance use and mental health, With these acts and enforcements, many problems can occur, such as not having enough funding, misinterpretation, or not enough enforcement. In order to make sure that the funding is enough, we can start by organizing the budget so that it can be used in the matter of urgency. For example, if an area of a program needs the money first, they will get it first, and then the money will continue to pass down. Secondly, for misinterpretation, the Department of Health and Human Services provides many different resources that are linked on their website. One of the resources are webinars, which they hold to help states and smaller counties to understand how to enforce and interpret the acts. Lastly, for enforcement wise, the executive branch can provide more power to the health and human services and several different branches in the department. Next, I would like to pass the mic to Kelly.
Thank you, Tina, for that overview of your content. I will be going and focusing on, in the similar vein, the effect that legislation has on institutionalization and its access to mental health care. So, the placement of individuals with mental health conditions into residential facilities for treatment or care is known as institutionalization. In the past, legislation around institutionalization, along with mental health access in general, was lacking or non-existent. This was due in part to the large amount of stigma surrounding mental health issues and disability. This then led to mass institutionalization being considered the cure-all solution to the mental health crisis at the time. These massive state-sponsored institutions were often lacking in regulation, personnel, and safety, resulting in high mortality rates and very low effectiveness in supporting their patients. Considering that, according to the National Institute of Mental Health, 1 in 5 adults in the United States suffers from mental health problems of varying intensity, eventually something would have to be done to address the crisis. As time went on, organizations such as the National Institute of Mental Health and eventually the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Administration were introduced to provide federal support and effort for research and development into the topic. One of the most important steps by the government in the space was the Community Mental Health Centers Act, which aimed to move mental health care from massive institutions to smaller community-focused centers. This act aimed to address the issues with funding, lack of access, and lack of personnel. Indeed, the act did have some success in these goals. However, larger problems regarding the lack of development in the area became evident. To this day, these issues remain pervasive, so the question becomes, how can legislation aid in addressing these problems to complete the shift from institutionalization to community care? I propose a threefold plan of action: increase federal funding for mental health research and treatment at both the executive and community levels. Take, for example, nations like Denmark, Finland, and Luxembourg. All these nations make significant and consistent investments in their health spending, especially in the area of mental health. Luxembourg, in particular, spends 13.5% of its national budget on mental health spending. As a result, these nations see lower levels of institutionalization and higher quality community-based care. Funding for research and care supports agencies in their attempts to understand and serve individuals with mental health issues in a manner that retains dignity. The next step would be to equip both state and federal agencies to conduct audits that identify and address barriers to access. While funding increases the quality of mental health services, access must be maintained. In 2008, the Mental Health Parity and Addiction Equity Act made it possible for patients to use their insurance for mental health care as they would for general health issues. This was a massive step in the right direction. Following this, the 2021 Consolidated Appropriations Act significantly enhanced the ability of regulators to enforce compliance among health plans. By empowering regulators to audit and provide oversight for such health plans, barriers to access, particularly in the metric of NQTLs, which are non-numeric barriers to care, such as prior authorization, can be greatly reduced. The last step would be to implement awareness campaigns to increase knowledge about available resources. In 2022, CNN hosted a survey that found only 44% of adults were aware of the National Crisis Hotline that was launched recently at the time. While this data may only focus on one specific service in the mental health space, it reflects a greater lack of awareness of mental health resources, which in a way is another barrier to access. Legislators have the power to create and operate large-scale awareness campaigns to make sure those who need this help are aware that it is available. Evidence of the effectiveness of such campaigns exists in examples such as Smokey the Bear. Now imagine then a successful campaign of the same sort but focused on mental health awareness.
Those were some wonderful presentations, but we couldn't have done it without our guest speakers. So today, today we extend our heartfelt gratitude to exceptional speakers who have guided us through the exploration of mental health equity. Their insights, expertise, and dedication to advancing healthcare justice has been instrumental to shaping our understanding and inspiring our commitment to this vital work. Our first speaker was Jeremy Kaimo. He is a nursing student at the University of Pennsylvania and a proud Teen Think alum. He was our first speaker, and he got us all very excited for the cohort. He shared his own experience about how he transformed a personal experience into a powerful advocacy. I would like to highlight Jeremy's dedication and how he became a role model to show us what real-world impact we could also make as change agents. He's also extremely responsive, super friendly, and dedicated.
None other, we would like to thank Mr. Brad Story. Not only did he give a wonderful overall explanation of mental health in its economic standpoint, but he also provided insight on insurance and mental health costs while also giving an elaborate speech on limitation. He was also able to treat us by giving us an open dialogue on how the American healthcare does not value preventative care explained in detail.
Our third guest speaker was Matthew Terrell, a licensed professional counselor, national certified counselor, and approved clinical supervisor. Professor Terrell's profound expertise in social impediments to health equity showed us that the complex intersection of mental health, addiction, systemic oppression, and particularly the LGBTQIA plus populations. His insight on bias, heteronormativity, comorbid conditions, and the Keith Awards model of allyship provided us with both the knowledge and framework necessary to become more effective advocates for marginalized communities in healthcare settings. Our fourth guest speaker is Gillian Gimiter. We thank her, a licensed professional counselor practicing in Virginia. Her presentation on the Marcus Alert demonstrated how innovative policy solutions can bridge the gap between emergency response and mental health care. Her real-world experience with Virginia's Community Service Board provided us with concrete examples of how coordinated care between first responders and mental health care professionals can save lives and improve outcome for individuals in mental health crisis. It also showed us how mental health was criminalized, and effective policy can change that surely. Truly an inspiration.
Last but not least, we have Ms. Crystal Monsanto. She's an African American trauma-informed advocate, and she provided intelligent insight on overall mental health equity. She thoroughly explained the three ACEs and their negative impact on the youth, and she also gave an interactive PowerPoint. She engaged with the audience, and she tied it all in with a beautiful comprehension on what safety looks like and what are the different types of long-term traumas. Lastly, we would like to express our gratitude to each of the 5 speakers. Each of you have had a unique influence on us. You have given us knowledge about the various barriers to mental health care, which has enabled us to broaden our horizons and impart this knowledge to others who are like us in order to educate the next generation. We sincerely hope that you will continue to find inspiration in educating the young people and know how much you are valued. Thank you so much.
Yes, I'd like to echo that sentiment and thank our guest speakers and thought leaders and advocates who have joined us not only this cohort but throughout the years. They are giving up their time and energy to come meet our cohort where we are. This is not a situation where we are bringing a kid to work day and we kind of run around behind the professionals doing what it is they do. These folks come to us, they sit at our table, they speak our language, they communicate with us on our level. And despite the fact that they are superheroes in their respective fields, they're also regular people. They have families and jobs and soccer practices and things going on just like we all do, but they give their time because they recognize how awesome this group of teens are. and probably a little selfishly realize that if our generation stands a chance of surviving into old age, we're going to rely heavily on these teens who will eventually get to be the thought leaders and experts in the fields that we now work in. So thank you to all those folks who joined us, Crystal and Jillian, who took additional time out of their day to join us here. We appreciate you, and we appreciate all you've done for us. And again, thank you on behalf of myself and the cohort. But the real special people, the people that need to be recognized, are the cohort members themselves. This is not a program that prides itself on awards or accommodations or rubrics. This group of teens comes here with a very honest approach. They don't come for grades or credits. They come because they're interested in the topic. But that doesn't mean they are not exceptional. That does not mean we don't need to award and recognize their contributions in a traditional manner. So what I'd like to spend a few minutes here doing is the 2025 Summer Academic Awards. We provide a few quantitative benefits to these folks, to a few external takeaways, in addition to writing an individual research paper that they that they presented to you in a simple format a few minutes ago. They work together to create a policy framework, which is often upwards of 70 to 80 to 90 pages of policy suggestions that we as members of society should take very seriously, because these folks are attempting to show us how they would solve the problems that they are going to inherit. And along the way, they have the ability to earn other accommodations and awards through their participation and through their completion of objective assignments. There are no requirements in this program. Everything they do is voluntary, but that does not stop them from achieving great heights. The folks who are able to graduate this program with attending 96% of our meetings, 96% of the assignments, 96% of our guest speakers, 96% of the writings, 96% of the journal entries, are able to graduate this program with honors. 96.1% is extremely difficult to achieve. It's really, if you miss one meeting and hand in one thing late and forget to do something, that's probably 95%, which is still exceptional, but not quite the standard needed to get an honors designation in our program. Historically, we will have one or two individuals who meet that threshold. I believe our record in previous cohorts is 3 or 4. This cohort, we had 7 individuals that met the standard and are going to graduate this program with honors. 4 of those individuals, marked with an asterisk on your screen, completed 100% of all things asked. That's 100% of the meetings, 100% of the journal entries, 100% of the assignments, of the writings, of the questions asked them. They were there. They were certainly up for the task of being a teen change agent. We'd like to recognize each of them as a exceptional part of this cohort. In addition to the honors recognition, we started this program to help exceptional teens understand that doing good things can be more than a hobby. Making change can be more than a volunteer experience. By engaging as a change agent, you can make money. You can pursue this as a career. There are monetary benefits that are available to those who are out there changing their communities, changing their cities, and changing society as a whole. So we offer a $500 scholarship to the individual who is recognized as the most outstanding research associate in our cohort. Now, as you can probably expect, with 7 individuals who are graduating with honors, and 4 of those individuals who have handed in every single question, who have answered every single question that's asked of them, it's a very tall task to stand out as the most outstanding research associate. And we know that that's a tall task because we ask the cohort themselves, which of your colleagues is the most outstanding research associate in your opinion? And without fail, every cohort, we get a multitude of submissions. Folks want to recognize Dontasia for her passion and collaborative spirit here in the cohort. She is a ray of light and enthusiasm, and she has certainly made an impression on her cohort mates. Mishka is someone who her colleagues recognize as an individual who will add depth to the conversation and the work that we're doing, and grasp of the concepts we are trying to develop is unmatched, and it is certainly appreciated not only by her colleagues but myself and the staff as well. Amartya is someone that has dedicated herself to this program, and that dedication is seen by her colleagues. If you want to appear dedicated, you can probably fool most adults in my position. But if you want to be recognized as dedicated, then you need to impress the peers that you are working alongside. And Amartya certainly has done that. Mohammed is one of the most intelligent and passionate and well-rounded people that I have ever met, and his cohort mates think that of him as well. His contributions and his tone and tenor to the program have been exceptional. Emily has been tabbed by her colleagues as someone who has demonstrated eagerness and a desire to grow, and I can attest to that sentiment. It is certainly something that I have seen, and obviously her colleagues have seen. So as you can tell, this is a very serious question. The cohort members take their responsibility very seriously on who they want to elevate, and it is almost impossible for them to narrow it down. It's impossible for me to narrow it down. That is why I do not. I give it to our staff. I give it to Bernadette Sheehan, who serves as our dean of students and onboarding all of our cohort members and putting their accomplishments out there into the world so they can be recognized. And she has the unenviable task of interviewing the finalists and choosing a winner based on a number of objective and subjective criteria. And based on all of that, this year's finalists, we've narrowed that tremendous pool of applicants down to Amartya, Emily, and Mishka. Choosing between two of these individuals would be nearly impossible. Choosing between three of them after having already narrowed down from the 7 or 8 applicants that submitted their applications was an unenviable task for sure. And after much deliberation and much thought, this year's most outstanding research scholarship goes to Amartya. Amartya, congratulations. Thank you very much for all your dedication. Why don't you take a few minutes to address your cohort mates as well as the attendees?
Definitely. I'm incredibly honored and grateful for this, honestly, but I don't think it would have been possible without my amazing colleagues, Matt, the guest speakers, and Shaheen, and really everyone behind the Screens of Think Tank project. I have learned so much from when I started this project to where I am now. Collaborating with each and every one of you has been amazing, and I honestly look forward to that 2 to 5 hour every single day that we were here, and I'm taking away so much. And like you said, Matt, the future generation is in good hands, and I think we can see that in this cohort itself. And I'm excited to apply what I've learned from here and kind of take that into my future endeavors.
Amartya,
Thank you.
outstanding. And again, to all the cohort members and your colleagues and Emily and Mishka, congratulations. It's really a job well done. I'm certainly proud to be a colleague of yours and proud to be a member of this cohort because you all are outstanding. And someday the goal of the Teen Think Tank Project is to have a $500 scholarship for every single member of our cohort. But until we get there, Amartya, congratulations. Great job. We are moving on to my favorite part of the cohort of the policy launch party presentation. That is the question and answer portion, because having spoken with these individuals and conversed and researched with these researchers, these teens for 36 hours over the last 3 weeks, I can honestly say that the best part of the work they do is the exploration of the questions that we are that we face when we're doing this work. So I'm going to open up some questions for the cohort. We're going to start with Amartya for a very topic-related question. Is the Title I versus non-Title I cost per child specific to mental health counseling in the school system or overall general education cost? And that's from our good friend Jillian Gamitter, who spent some time with us talking about these particular subjects.
Yeah, that's an excellent question, and thank you for asking that for clarification. The figure I cited is specific to the mental health services, not the general education costs, because the data is drawn from policy analysis of federal and state funding allocations specifically designed for mental health support. And it was from counselors, school counselors, psychologists, and social workers. And even in this, you can kind of see that even in crucial areas, area-specific Title I schools, which serve our most vulnerable students, receive less funding, leading to critical staff shortages and inadequate support, kind of adding to the core example of how the system perpetuates inequality. I hope that answers your question.
Awesome, Martha, thank you. Dantasia, I got something for you.
Yes, hi.
Do you think, after all this work that we've done, do you think there's hope that we can successfully provide mental health care for all Americans?
Thank you for your wonderful question. I do believe that there's hope in the future, that all Americans will be able to have access to the mental health care that they deserve, because I do believe that everyone has a heart and everybody has that motive to want to drive them to want to be equal with everybody and be equal with their peers. And I do believe if we work together and, just nonstop motivation, nonstop determination, like we would be able to have access to mental health care for everybody, all minorities, every gender, every age, etc.
Yeah, and I certainly believe that you are in a position to do so. Thank you, Dantasia. Emily, same question. You think there's hope that we can successfully provide mental health care for all Americans?
Um, well, I mean, I'd like to think so. I think that realistically, it'll take a lot of time, effort, and patience, and consistent and continued work towards a better goal. But I truly think that if enough people get behind it, it could happen one day.
Awesome. Thank you, Emily. Josh, straightforward question. How's it feel to be a change agent?
It's very like changing in general as a change agent because we learned a lot from this program and the leadership skills, communication skills, and all the other skills we learned from this. And becoming a researcher is very different than I would have thought.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks. Um, Kelly, same question to you. How's it feel to be a change agent?
It's a very interesting experience. I really enjoyed the whole process, and I'm going to take what I've learned here and apply it in many other areas as I move forward.
Awesome. Thank you. Uh, Here's a great question. And I think this is perfect for Mishka. For those interested in pursuing a career in mental health science, advocacy, or policy, did your research affect your perception of what type of career you'll be pursuing?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Thank you for that insightful question. I would say definitely. I'm thinking about going into like the more political science thing, policy aspect of this, and I really do believe that the work that we've done with mental health specifically helped me narrow down what I'm really passionate about, and I hope that I can narrow down this passion and um, apply it within the work that I want to do in the future.
Awesome. Awesome. Um, Mohammed, how did this experience differ from your traditional school-based project or class?
It offered me a different outlook on how I view writing papers and doing presentations. Like traditional school always seemed like a chore to me, something I had to complete regardless of how I feel at the moment. But this experience allowed me to enjoy the entire process from start to finish. It was something I actually wanted to do and stuff I enjoyed learning about.
That's awesome. I'm glad you found that this opportunity was able to provide you something that you could attach to, that you could connect with. That's our goal here, and I appreciate that. Um, Roman, pretty straightforward question here. What's your favorite part of this whole experience?
My favorite part for me was getting to know every single one of you guys here. It's a very diverse group, and I got to learn about a lot of things about you guys, and I appreciate it, really.
That's awesome. We appreciate you, Roman. The unintended benefit or the unintended consequence of this program was that we hear from students that it gives them confidence, it gives them perspective, and it gives them a sense of community and friendship with the folks that they work with. That was never our intention. We wanted to write a policy research paper. And if you could walk away from this with that experience, we would have thought that we were we were doing our job, but we quickly realized that that wasn't our job. Our job was giving the opportunity and the platform for each of these teen change agents to build the community and the relationships necessary to do the things that they want to do, whether it's in change agency, social justice, or something else. Tina, same question for you. What was your favorite experience?
My favorite experience was having the guest speakers come because it allowed me to see how they're solving the cases in the world, the real world, and yeah.
Awesome, thanks, Tina. So unless we have any more questions from the audience, we're getting close to our 5 o'clock end time and want to make sure that we give our cohort members the time they need to wrap up anything or any loose ends. We will conclude our question and answer portion of today. All right, I think that is it. All right, team. That is it. You are officially Teen Change Agents. You are Teen Think Tank Project alum. You have accomplished more in 3 weeks than I accomplished in my entire high school career. You should be commended for the work that you have done, the work that you are currently doing, and the work that will continue to be done well after you leave us. For those who have joined us, we appreciate your support. You are either supporting these teens at home in their day-to-day lives, or you're supporting them through these endeavors by showing them that if they show up, you will show up as well. The teenthinktankproject.com is where you can find all things Teen Think Tank Project related. I am going to drop a link in the chat, and that is where you will be able to find the work of this cohort in our research cohort pages beginning next week. You will be able to visit this page and see the cohort portfolio, which will include their contact information on LinkedIn. Their contact information on LinkedIn, the policy framework that they have created together, as well as a copy of this presentation. So without further ado, I present to you all the 2025 Summer Change Agent Academy's Health Equity Cohort. Congratulations, team. You have spent some time on this work that is truly exceptional, and you should be very proud because we are very proud of you. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our policy framework launch party. Have a great night. If you are residing in New Jersey, please get home safe. It appears that it's a little stormy out there. And we'll see you all soon. Take care.
Bye. See you soon.
Thank you. See you.
See you.
Thank you, Sia.
All right, team. Oh, no, team, don't go. Don't go. Don't go, team.
Did I maybe you should say something in the classroom quickly?
Yeah, yes. Let me get everybody back. All right, Josh, thanks for coming back. Let me make sure. Is there a... Where is there a link? Oh yeah, copy invite link. All right, Dantasia is back. Thank you, Dantasia. Give everybody a second. I wanted to be able to say thank you in person and wrap up a few last minute things. Do the impediment folks, so the economic impediment folks are here. Social impediment folks, did you have a chat group or something offline, or were you just communicating through Classroom?
We were just communicating through Classroom, but it was mainly me and Dantasia working together, so we have each other's.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna guess we're not getting Roman back. I'm gonna guess that he is on vacation and he is off and running. Who else does that leave? That would leave Kelly, and that would leave Mishka. We'll give him another second. Hopefully, they can come back. But Tina, good work. Hey, Tina, do you have Kelly or Mishka's information? Did you guys exchange cell phones? No. Okay. All right. Well, hopefully they see that and they come back. Again, I just wanted to thank you all. Fantastic work. Great job. And you should be proud of the work you've done. I'm certainly proud of you. You should be proud of each other. There is one last piece of business that we need to tend to, and that is final survey. And the goal of this project is to use the work of your cohort to help the next cohort, help us improve the program for the next cohort. So what I'd like you to do is take a few minutes and complete this this survey. This is the wrong survey. Bear with me. Okay, that is the correct survey. It should just take a few minutes. Please be thoughtful. They are anonymous. If you'd like to be able to give a testimonial, you'll have the opportunity to identify yourself if you wish, but it's not required. When you are done, there's the link to the form. When you're done, just say goodbye and give me a wave, and we will we'll part ways momentarily. But next week I will have a folder for you with all of the deliverables. So if you received a with honors designation or a ability to receive a letter of recommendation or certificate of completion, then those will all be given to you next week. Along with the final version of your article, your individual article, and a copy of the policy framework that you are able to use. Put it in your portfolio. You're a co-author. You can create a record of your academic achievement.
I'm not quite sure what you mean by the research assistant.
Oh, you know what? Yes. So you guys did not have a research assistant. Where is that question? Jada Hendrickson. Yes, she didn't join us. So let me, I'll unmark those as not required. Okay. If you refresh, or maybe you should just be able to skip it, but it's no longer required.
I believe the guest speaker slash presentation one is a little different than the ones that we had.
It is. I did. I accidentally gave you guys the wrong, in my attempt to get it correct, I gave you the wrong one. If you refresh, that question should be gone now.
Okay, thank you.
I just finished the survey. I just wanted to say thank you and have a great rest of your day, everyone.
Tasia, take care. We'll miss you.
Miss you too. Bye.
All right. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, everybody. It's my time to go.
Mohammed, take care.
All right. Bye, guys.
All right, finished. Bye, Matt.
Josh, it was a pleasure, man. You take care. Have a
You
great
too.
school.
I finished. Bye, Matt.
See you, Tina. Tell Jesse I say hey.
Okay.
Matt, I think it's my time to go now. I just finished. It's
Martha.
been so amazing working with
Absolutely.
you and everyone.
And we'll be in touch and we'll make arrangements to get you the scholarship award and all that good stuff. So don't be.
Perfect. Of course. Sounds great. I'll look forward to hearing from you soon.
Take care.
Bye. Bye, Mishka.
Oh, wow. I'm the only one here. I'm finished. I'm sorry for taking so much time.
Okay, that's okay.
It's really been an honor to be here with you and
You,
every.
Mishka, you're fantastic. I really look forward to seeing what you accomplish. I think you came here on accident, right? You had applied for the social action lab.
Yeah.
and that wasn't going to work logistically. So I'm glad that that all worked out. It's just they say happy accidents, right? That's
Yeah,
the best
it was
kind.
kind of embarrassing, but it was okay.
That's okay.
And I'm okay. I ended up being here anyway, so I look forward to meeting with you on or just connecting with you online and just seeing what you do in the
That is
future.
that's
Yeah.
actually a great point. And I meant to mention this, and I will reach out to everybody else. But we are currently planning for our fall and winter of next year, school year, um, programming that we want to bring to clubs and campuses and schools around the area. And we want to do a kind of like a monthly leadership workshop component and cover some of the same things we covered in this program. And I want to start and offer that to members of the Teen Think Tank Project community. So if you have a club or a school, if you have a club at school or outside that you want or you think would benefit from, a couple free workshops and um, discussion sessions and like a leadership program, I'll reach out and we can kind of coordinate it. And if your school is in need or your club is in need of it, we'd certainly give TTP alum first priority.
Okay, I'll look into that. Bye.
See you later.
Bye.